Hey guys,
All right, bro.
welcome to Will Squared, where we talk about sports and just about anything else that pops in our head. Right now, we're just not doing well, um, but I'm Will Senior,
And I'm Will Jr.
and yeah, we have two really special guests that are joining us from across the country. First, let me introduce Ed. He's from SoCal. He's actually really close to enemy land. So Ed, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell me how you're doing right now.
Yeah. The fireworks are going off in the background right now as
Mm.
I'm speaking.
Uh,
I live in a predominantly Dodger land right now, so it's not feeling good, but we're here. So
all right, and then joining us from the great Lone Star state of Texas, from Austin, we got Gabe, who's a big Longhorn fan. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Oh, there they are.
Hey, yeah, I'm Gabe. I am the nephew of Will Senior over here, and Ed is my old man. Um,
It's a family thing.
Family occasion right now. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Grew up playing baseball. Baseball is my thing. So glad to be here, talk a little sports.
All right, awesome. So today, it's a special podcast because today we're not going to be talking about every single sport. That'll be tomorrow. William and I will be kind of getting back into our little studio, which is my dining room, and we're going to record the podcast where we're going to be talking about football and college football and of course soccer are one of our favorite sports to talk about. But today we're just going to talk about baseball. We just we just saw the final out of the Yankees, and we lost the World Series 4 games to 1. We were hoping that today would mark another win and propel us back to La La Land, where we can probably squeeze out another win in Game 6 and Game 7. I was hoping for the big comeback. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. But I wanted just go around and see how you guys felt about it. William, do you want to start off?
Sure.
And by the way, guys, he's taking it the hardest. And the reason why is because he's never seen the Yankees win a World Series. I think the rest of us,
Okay.
Gabe, and obviously Ed and I have, but
Hmm.
uh, William has not. And we all felt that this was the year. This was the year. But go ahead, William.
Okay.
Get us started, and then we can just go around
All right.
and everyone can just chime in.
Where do I begin? Like the whole series or just this game?
No, no, let's just overall the series. I mean, obviously, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Not only the series, but how about the whole year? Why don't we concentrate also on the whole year? How did you feel about the Yankees the whole year, and then obviously topping it off with what should have been a World Series win, but obviously we fell short.
Well, as you guys know, last year we did not make the playoffs. So at the start of this year, I didn't have that same feeling of we could win it all like every year. But then again, we signed like Soto. But last year Soto was not as good as this year's Soto. So coming in, I was still skeptical about like Soto as well. But now just looking at back, it was a good season, but for Yankee standards, of course, it's not a successful season. They did get the number one seed. They did win in four in round two, 1-5 in round three, but we could not get the job done. Like for some teams, it's a great season to make the World Series. Not for this one, okay? And and yes, I'm taking it really hard. I'm wearing these glasses to hide my tears, okay? Because this is my first one, and and we lost, and just the way how we lost. So now let's talk about Game 5, okay? Because I will be honest, and You guys can agree or disagree. The Dodgers are a great team, but the Yankees beat themselves this damn series, especially in Game 1 and tonight. I have never seen Cole pitch such a masterpiece, but he allows 5 runs because of the errors. If you see his stat sheet, it still says 0 earned runs because it wasn't an earned run. He had probably 2 bad pitches all day, and they were both when the bases were loaded for Freddie and I think it was Mookie or Teoscar. I've never seen Cole pitch so well. He was locked in from the get-go. He had his spots perfect on the fastball, the knuckle curve he was throwing so much. The damn slider was on point, the changeup, all on point.
Well, he also had a great Game 1 that
Yep.
that
That
he only allowed 2 runs in that game.
He allowed 2 runs. He was up to
Yep.
I think 86 pitches. He should have stayed in. That's another point. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I agree.
We beat
So, Gabe,
ourselves.
piggybacking on what
Yeah, please. Go on,
what
go on.
William said, what do you think? How did you see the World Series? Obviously, we'll get into the nitty gritty, but just a quick overview before we get to Ed, and then we do some specific questions.
I mean, first word that comes to mind about this World Series is just disappointment, purely. We like I said, we'll go into this a little bit later, but based off of this season, I'm actually kind of surprised they even made the World Series. The way the season went for about a month and a half there, I really expected to get knocked out in the divisional round. So the fact that they even made it this far surprised me. Now they did have a pretty easy path to the World Series. KC was definitely, I never was worried about the Royals at all. Cleveland, I was kind of worried. It depended on if their manager called the correct pitchers to come out to pitch against the guys, and their manager didn't manage very well, and then their hitters just weren't able to hit. So yeah, I mean, just disappointment's the only thing I can think of with this series, honestly. Kind of sucks. It's my first time in my lifetime that they've lost a World Series that they've been in. Being born in 95, I was actually born after that World Series loss, so it doesn't count. But 96, what was it, 98? 98,
98,
Who the next
9,
one was?
2000.
89.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then 09, I remember 09 because I was in 7th grade.
Yeah, you
So
were
I
about
remember watching
14.
that.
Yep.
Yep, I remember against the Phillies because I had a kid in one of my classes that was a Phillies fan, so we were.
Well, that's when we went up for the ticker tape parade.
Yep, exactly. I remember that too. That was fun.
Ed, go ahead. What do you?
Oh man.
That, man?
Well, I have to share the same sentiments that Gabe and Junior actually said, because in the beginning of the season they just looked like an average team. They didn't have an identity. They were struggling to kind of get into a rhythm. Boone was playing around with different lineups, putting people in places that they didn't belong, sticking with people that really weren't producing, getting some injuries because there were some injuries. Remember, there was a couple pitchers that went down.
Yeah, like Clark,
Yeah, and so there was a lot. So there was a lot of injuries. So in the beginning of the season, we're like, okay, there's going to be another probably getting in by the wild card. Then they started getting hot right before the All-Star break, right? And all of a sudden, after the All-Star break, they started to stumble, and all of a sudden they got hot again towards the end. Made it as the number 1 seed by beating Baltimore to the finish line, which was an amazing thing in itself, and basically putting Baltimore to be able to have that 1 game or 3 game, whatever it was against.
But Baltimore, I think Baltimore hurt themselves. They just
Oh, absolutely. Well, they didn't
That's
have
a
any
big
pitching either.
disappointment. That's a disappointment right there.
that was because they
That-
were playing really well
Yep.
throughout the whole season, and then they stumbled at the end. Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Warriors
but-
just fell off.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I was never confident that we were going to make the World Series. Even though we had the number 1 seed, we were a fake number 1 seed, because we, even against that Cleveland series, there was times that I was like, man, this is getting a little dicey. And I'm like, man, I would not be surprised if we lost to Cleveland. I would have hated to lose to Cleveland, but I would not have been surprised. So when we met the Dodgers, I was like, okay, the big stars is the series that everybody has wanted, but now we are seeing that it's a series that nobody got
Yep.
because it was a horrible series,
Yeah.
horrible
Yep.
game. We can go through all the games, but game one, I agree. Cole pitched amazing, and all of a sudden, what happened? We gave up some really dumb plays. We misplayed 3 balls in the outfield, and then you bring in Nestor, and I think we talked about that at length. You bring in Nestor 2 pitches, and we lose the game. And
Yeah.
then
So let me stop you there, Ed, because I do want to talk about game one. And we did talk about this last night, but that was just between us. And so I wanted to kind of touch base on that because I wanted you to kind of reiterate what you said last night. And that kind of talks to the point, okay, game one. And something that I've seen for the past couple of years with the Yankees is not necessarily the players, but the manager. Love Boone, he hit that homer back in the World Series with 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, I think it was. I was watching
Right.
it live and I was just jumping up. So
Yeah.
I love the man.
Yep.
He's a legend in Yankee uniform, right? But as a manager, I've often seen that he mismanages a lot. Not only with runners coming in, not only with some movements of the defense, especially with pitchers. He holds on to the pitcher that's even if the pitcher's struggling, he leaves them out there. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 batters too long.
Yep.
So Ed, you and I, and William, we were kind of just chatting, shooting the breeze yesterday before Gabe jumped on, and we were talking about game one. So I kind of want you to go through that again. And Nestor
Yeah.
is the big talking point here.
Absolutely. And so, just to kind of go back to the mismanagement of players, and we can talk about coaching at another time about the philosophy he has or does not have. But in that game one, I think was a turning point for the entire series. All of a sudden, it gave life to a Dodgers team that basically was on life support going into the game one. They were at the precipice of losing at home. If we would have won game one, we would not be talking like this right now. It'd
Not
be a
at all.
totally different conversation because then all of a sudden the momentum came to the Yankees. However, there is a saying the momentum is only as good as the next starting pitcher, right? However, this series actually proved that wrong. But I'm going back to when when they had Ohtani coming up to bat, and it was first and second, right? And there was 1 out.
And we're talking
And-
about the bottom of the 10th right now.
Correct. The bottom of the 10th.
And the Yankees are leading 3
The
to
Yankees
2.
are leading 3-2, and all of a sudden they bring in
Which we scored a run on the top of the 10th
yes,
to take the lead. So
Yes.
we're up 3-2. All we got to do is just get 3 outs, get the W,
yeah,
and now we have home field advantage.
correct. And then all of a sudden we allow 2 runners on. Otani's coming up, and yes, you got to play the statistics and all those wonderful data points that you see, but sometimes you have to almost follow your heart, and that's where I think that analytics kind of gets in the way of the baseball mind is when you rely so much on data and not so much of the feel for the game. So yeah, great. Bring in Nestor. You're going to shut down Ohtani. Ohtani was not having a good game already. He didn't have a good series to begin with, but yeah, he got hurt, whatever. So you pitch to Ohtani, 1 pitch, you get him out. Perfect. Then you bring up Mookie Betts. And what do? You intentionally walk him. Rather than walking him, Nestor had not pitched in over a month. He wasn't really warmed up. His body's not even back up to speed. Why not pitch to Mookie Betts 7 pitches? Walk his ass. 8 pitches. I don't care. Have him foul off some stuff. Let him go ahead and kind of get into a rhythm of things so that when Freddie Freeman came up, you had a little bit better chance to getting him out. If that was not the fact that what if Betts would have chased something, right? What if he would have chased something and hit a little single? What if there was a play at home then, right? So all of a sudden, the dynamics of the game changes when you all of a sudden let the pitcher pitch rather than intentional walk. That is where I believe was the worst mistake of the entire series because it changed the dynamics for the rest of the games.
So just as a little parentheses, what the hell, Freeman, 6 straight World Series games with a homer. This going back to 2 games with Atlanta and now 4 here with the Dodgers. On a good note, at least he didn't homer today, right? So we stopped that thing. But Gabe, what do you have anything else you want to add to what Ed was talking about? You're on mute, I believe.
I want to go back to that intentional walk on Mookie Betts real quick. So, we're talking about going purely off of analytics. So the lane that Nestor Cortez is good for is against lefties. As a lefty himself, his lefty versus lefty splits are phenomenal. So that's why he is Ohtani's boogeyman. Like, he's like the one guy Ohtani cannot hit very well is Nestor. So their thought process was, let's get the righty out of the way and let's get the lefty up so that we can have that lefty on lefty split. The only problem is the righty that they decided to walk, Mookie Betts, is 0 for 5 against Nestor Cortez in his career. He's never gotten a hit off of Cortez. So why the hell would a team that has a manager that lives and dies off these stupid analytics not pitch to Mookie Betts? That is the dumbest decision I've ever seen. And I get Cortez hasn't pitched in like a month and a half, but you gotta just trust your guys sometimes. And his one pitch to Freddie Freeman missed the spot. You saw Wells set up outside and Nestor inside low, and he put it right where Freeman would just love to turn on it every single time. That I thought that was just terrible decision making. To pour salt into the wound of that, Hill, who was the other guy that was up warming up at the same time as Cortez, Hill came in the next game, shut them down completely. And it's like, well, yeah, no, we could have had that last night. Winning game 1 would have set such a different tone in the series that, because the way I was wanting to visualize the series, win game 1 against Jack Flaherty. Yamamoto, you can almost write that off as a loss because he pitched phenomenal all season against everybody, including the Yankees earlier. He threw a 7-inning shutout the one meeting they already had in New York.
In Yankee Stadium.
Exactly, in New York. And then game 3, Walker Buehler coming off of TJ. It's been practically 2 years since he's like really pitched. He was kind of a wild card. Either it could go very well or it can go very poorly. Unfortunately for us, he looked like he went pretty damn well, but also our bats just weren't working, so we kind of helped him look better. So it's kind of one of those, like, how good was he really compared to how our bats were going, Game 4 was kind of a gimme. Everyone knew that from the beginning, with it being a bullpen game from the Dodgers. Everybody kind of agreed that Yankees had better starters and that the Dodgers potentially had the better bullpen, but like not by much. And it's one of those, depending on how consistent the Yankees bullpen was going to end up being, kind of was going to be the difference maker between the two. So game 5 was huge. I don't know if we want to get fully. I don't know if we want to get fully into game 5 quite yet, but I mean, we were rolling to start the game. We had momentum from game 4 was very much carrying through into game 5.
Yep. Yeah. And before we do jump into this the 5th game, because I do want to talk about that, but we're kind of talking about management, and the one thing that I think we all agreed on was that we would have liked to see the lineup being changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Moving Judge, who was having a very difficult time finding the ball, moving him around, maybe moving other bats up, down the lineup, just to kind of do a fresh start. And I thought, and Gabe, this is something that you talked about yesterday, so I wanted to kind of bring it right back to you and kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I am of the opinion that having Stanton right behind Judge was a mistake. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to have something to protect Judge, to force guys to pitch to Judge, to try to get Judge out, give him something to hit, to not bring G up, who was doing great all post. I mean, the new Mr. October right there. So I get the thought process. I don't totally agree with it because the fact that you cannot have Stanton lead off an inning. So he needs someone in front of him that can protect him in case they go 1-2-3 in the first, which they did a couple times.
Yeah.
And then you just you leave G out to dry in the second. Like you need someone in front of him. So I thought game 4 when they swapped him and Jazz, was it right? They put Jazz in the
Jazz
4
is
hole.
cleanup. Yep.
Him flipping those two was good. That's what they needed to do, to put somebody in front of Stanton in case a 1-2-3 happens with the top 3, and Jazz has potential to get on base, whether it's via a walk or getting a really like stupid single type of deal. Because we saw him take some bad swings and they resulted in a single. But that's what we needed protection of. And one thing I was saying was to actually put Stanton 3 and move Judge to either 4 or 5 and just kind of flip them and, give, because G, who had the better bat, put him behind Soto, let Soto do his thing. Soto and Torres don't have to change their game at all. Put G up there to do what Judge does, and then have Judge just find his bat again. And once he finds his bat, you can flip him again, put Judge back at 3, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my initial thoughts to help the struggling Judge. Obviously, he ended up actually having a great game 4. I thought all of his at-bats were very competitive. He actually stopped swinging at bad balls and stuff. So kind of answered the question for everyone in game 4. But 1-3, I think something should have happened.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to game 3 real quick because I know you were talking about Buehler and Junior. We were talking about how Buehler basically had 24 four-seam fastball down the middle that we missed completely or something like that. What was the stat, right?
The Dodgers had 24 fastballs, like down the middle, and no swing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I go back to everything was set up by game number 1, right? Because that game number 1 changed the perspective in which now all of a sudden game 3, you're in New York, you feel the pressure, and now you're pressing. And so everything, you're just tightened up. You're just tightened up a lot more. And so the ability to kind of catch up to a swing or feel like you need to swing is just compromised because now you're pressing. Now you got to try to do something. And when you try to do that, you're not playing freely. You're not playing loose. And so that stat was kind of alarming, but we kind of know why, because it all started at game 1.
Yeah, I think that stat was 24 watched strikes in the zone. It wasn't even total. It was like just in the zone. I think that was like I think that was the second most watched fastballs all year, and like the Nationals had the most at 27. It's some ridiculous stat. It never should have happened.
We got so freaking outcoached, man. Each game, we got so freaking outcoached. Only two.
It's funny because Dodgers in the last couple of years were the ones being outcoached.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And
we would be talking about Dave.
Finally gets it right.
Right. And then everybody here in LA has been talking about firing Dave Roberts probably for the last, 6 years.
I've been saying that too, honestly.
Same with me.
As not even a Dodgers fan, he needed to go.
I mean, when he was pitching Kenzie, whatever his name is, everybody's like, why are you pitching him? Remember the old closer they used to have, right? The same thing. He's stuck with Kershaw. What's his name?
Jansen.
Jansen, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same thing happened, right? And then he would stick with Kershaw, and then he would stick with all these old. All we're seeing is Dave Roberts 2.0 in Aaron Boone. So does that mean that there's hope for Aaron Boone coming up? I don't know, but just to see kind of a perspective between what we've seen here in LA and now where they're at.
Yeah, and go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead.
I would say I think this year the Dodgers front office gave Roberts a team that was too good to fail. Like Roberts would have had to really screwed something up to have a failure on his hands. Like quite frankly, anyone could have coached the Dodgers into the World Series. That's just how talented that lineup was. And I'm hoping something happens with Boone, whether it's he gets fired or has, a lot more pressure put on him, kind of be like, hey man, you got like half of next season to figure shit out, or else you're gone.
Yeah,
give
but
them like a timeline.
there
But
was
I don't
there
think
was
it's gonna
rumor that was happening a couple of years ago, and nothing ever came about.
Yeah,
Um,
I've lost faith in Cashman at this point
Yeah.
completely.
So let me ask you this question then: do you think that, with knowing all the injuries, if we go back and I mean, we can Google all the injuries the Yankees have had this year. Loizaga, right? He was a
Yep.
great dominant middle reliever. Gill was out for a while. Schmidt was
Smith
out for a while.
4 months. Yeah.
Nestor was out for the last month or so. He would never really
Haley was
pitch
out
very
for a
well.
while as well.
Cole
Yeah.
was out
Yeah.
the first 3 months.
Yep.
So you look at that. Do you say, okay, we made it to the World Series, so we should give Boone a pass? I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
I think it's track record, man. I mean, you got to look. You got to look at the whole managerial years that he's had in New York. He's had really good teams, which have
Yeah.
failed miserably. Right? He's
Seven-
not.
17
I wouldn't
Phoenix
even
years
say.
because cheating.
Well,
Well, okay.
go year by
All right.
year. Go year by year.
Putting it outside, but I don't think that this is the best team he's had.
I don't think
Yet,
so either.
yet
No.
they made it to the World Series.
2019
Right.
was probably the best he had, but 2019,
Yeah,
the Astros just
I'd
like
say-
too good with what's his name, Greinke, Cole, and Verlander. Just you can't
And
beat
cheating.
that in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
And cheating.
And
yeah,
cheating.
yeah.
I don't know if we guys want to talk about notable free agents for the Yankees in 2024.
Well, we're gonna talk about the future in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Let's talk
Okay.
really
Okay.
quickly.
Okay.
I got
Let's talk
questions
really
for that.
quickly about the
I got-
Dodgers, right? I mean,
Okay,
obviously they're the world champs now, right? And Freeman, I just got breaking news. Freeman just won the MVP,
MVP, of course.
so
Not
it's
surprised.
well deserved, right? I
Well
mean,
deserved.
4 home runs
Completely.
with X amount of
With 12
RBIs,
RBIs.
12 RBIs. I mean,
12
that's
RBIs.
an incredible stat. I mean,
He tied the
congratulations to
record.
him.
Yeah.
Congratulations to La La Land. I mean, they did a really good game. What worked well for them?
Well, first of all, before
Yeah.
I forget this, I'm just gonna say like 2 personal things. The only like 2 good things that come out from this result is, one, I know damn well it's not the last time I'm gonna see the Yankees in the World Series, and
Yep.
2, I like a lot of players on the Dodgers. So Ohtani has a ring. I'm happy for him.
Even though he didn't play well.
No, he was hurt. He was very, very hurt.
Yeah.
In game
And I wasn't
3,
sad
4,
about
and
it.
5, it was so obvious to tell. He didn't do anything. But he has a ring now. Happy for him. Mookie has 3 now. Freddie has 2. Max Muncy has 2. A lot of my favorite players. Kershaw now has 2. Bueller has his 2, I think now. He was on the 20.
Yeah, he was on 2020.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
hurt that whole year, right, though.
Hey, so
was.
who was the player that is going to get a ring regardless of who won?
Some guy who played for the
Oh,
Yankees for 5
yeah.
games and the Dodgers for 5 games, and he's not even in the
That
league
was
anymore.
funny. That was funny.
Yeah, the Dodgers.
So he's like, I don't care who wins.
That
Yeah,
was really funny.
I think he played like maybe 2 innings total for
Yeah.
us in
Wow.
New York before we dropped him.
Wow.
Like we had him on the bench for 5 games, but he only like came in for 2
Right.
innings, and that
Wow.
was it.
What was the main question, though? I'm sorry.
Ridiculous.
So, what went well for Dodgers?
What
Like,
went well for Dodgers?
I have a quick. I think before you guys answer, I think what went well for Dodgers was they faced the Yankees.
Okay.
That's what it was.
All right, now.
Because we beat ourselves a lot
yeah.
of the time, right?
Well,
But anyway,
yeah.
let's go ahead. Will
I
William,
agree.
you were going to say something. Go ahead and start with that.
What went well for the Dodgers was they had better starting pitching than the Yankees, which before the series, we all thought that this could be our one advantage, like force Cole to go like 7 each start, force Rodon, Clark. No, it was just Cole. We got outpitched in 4 out of the 5 games, not counting like this one because it was full of errors. That's one. 2, the changes just worked. They obviously changed tactics from 2 to 3 with all those damn fastballs. They changed lineups like sometimes. Edmund was either like 7 or 9, depending on the pitcher. Yeah, just that. Basically, the opposite of how it went for the Yankees.
And Gabe is biting at the tip over there. What do you
Go
got?
ahead, brother.
I mean, their batting was just superior.
Yeah.
Their defense had the one mess up to Edmund when he was playing shortstop, and he bobbled it in the 10th. Was it 10th or was it the 9th that made it tie it up to force extras? I forget. Game 1 though. That's the only mistake I saw from them defensively at all. They just honestly just outplayed the Yankees. The Yankees, when they're good, they are definitely the best team in the league, in my opinion. The thing is, getting them to be good is like pulling teeth from a chicken. It's damn near impossible. Like,
Yeah.
they're so inconsistent, and it almost feels like to me there's like a lack of discipline in the clubhouse. Just period. Like they're just kind of like, just play the game. Like I've heard a lot of rumors about how lackadaisical like their practices and stuff are. Like they don't practice fielding in some cases. It's just dumb.
Yeah, they beat themselves, and I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think the best thing that happened to Dodgers is that they met a undisciplined Yankees team that basically imploded and beat themselves, and they basically said, "Here you go, Dodgers." Because to be honest with you, the Yankees were the better team. I don't care what people say; we were the better team. We just beat ourselves with dumb mistakes and bad coaching.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? What do the Yankees
All right, hold on.
need to do? Hold on, William. What do the Yankees need to do to ensure that we reach the World Series next year?
One
Step
sentence
one.
answer. One sentence answer. Go ahead, Gabe.
I'll say, yeah, step 1, sign Soto. Need to lock him down. Get rid of Boone. Get rid of Cashman.
So Boone, you think should be
Go from there. A lot of coaching staff, I think, needs to change. The fact that your captain of the team has his own private batting coach because the coach from the Yankees isn't good for him, that should speak enough right there. That
Wait, really?
yeah, Judge
didn't
has
know
had his
that.
own. Judge has had his own private hitting coach since I think like his 2nd or 3rd season with the Yankees. Like he found this guy in the offseason during the summer one year, and it was just like, I'm sticking with this guy. And then the next year, I think it might have been the season or the offseason before he set the record, or the season before he set the record,
Yeah.
something like that.
Hmm.
It's like, and since then he's just had his own thing. The Yankees like, yeah, sure, have your own coach, and it's like, what are we doing? Not signing a real hitting coach then? Why do we have this guy that it takes? Like Volpe last year, it took Austin Wells, that chicken parm story. It took Austin Wells, who was still in the minors at the time, to tell Volpe what he was doing wrong, and Volpe just flipped the switch and instantly became the hitter we all were expecting him to be the whole time. And then I heard, was it yesterday or the day before, that before Game 4, same thing. Austin Wells and Volpe are hanging out, and the story is that they're eating chocolate cake and ice cream this time, and talking about Wells. And next thing you know, Wells has a huge explosion, in the box for Game 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is going on with like there's a lot of just structural things with the Yankees. We have the talent in the roster. We do. I think a lot of it is just management. I think it's what it all boils down to right now.
Yeah.
And leaning too much on analytics and not going with the old school, what they call the eye test. Do they look like they're good? All right, well then trust your eyes. Like let them do.
Yeah. And then Ed, you were saying that there's a number of free agents. What free agents do you feel can come in and help the Yankees either in pitching or batting,
Well, first,
especially
first.
defensively?
Let's talk about the Yankee free agents,
Yes,
right?
please,
So let's
please.
see what they have.
Okay,
my
so
first
the
thing,
Yankees
yeah.
free agent
Okay.
who
Yeah.
can
Okay.
potentially leave.
Soto,
Correct.
Soto, you have to sign. So we all know that. Torres, are we signing him or letting him walk? In my opinion, I think they're gonna let him walk. But since he started the Yankees when I started to fully watch every game, he has a place in my heart. So I like him. But in my personal opinion, I don't think they're gonna re-sign him.
Those are the two main bats,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But then you have
Then you
Clay
have-
Holmes.
He's
He's
gone.
gone.
He's gone.
Gone.
Stop,
Tommy
stop,
Kahnle,
stop.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's old. Yeah,
Alex
he's gone.
Verdugo.
He's gone. Unfortunately.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone.
We can't
think
afford
so?
it.
This is what I
If we need
think.
to,
This is what I think
if we're
they're gonna
signing, if we're signing Soto, we're not bringing Verdugo back.
Yeah.
We can't afford him. That's when Jason Dominguez has to
do.
get
Step
good at
up,
defense.
Like defense, bro.
That's
Step
true.
up.
That's true. You got Dominguez. That's
Yeah,
right.
like, step
then
up, bro.
then we have Loaizaga, who I think
We-
is a phenomenal middle
Yeah.
reliever,
Yes.
Yep.
right? But
We
he's coming
need
off
him.
of surgery.
Maybe a low deal.
And then you have Tim Hill. I mean, he was a late addition in the offseason.
Mhm.
He looked like a plumber, right? Every time he went up there, he looked like somebody who was a plumber or a landscaper. But he actually was effective, right? There was a couple things that he was like a little, erratic, but those are the notable ones. And then there was another thing that, do you think Rizzo will be
Yeah.
back?
That was my
No.
They
next
have a
question.
$17 million option on him.
That was my next
I
question.
don't think Rizzo will be back.
I-
He's been plagued by injuries since he came to the Yankees.
I don't
He's
think they're
old
gonna- I don't think they're gonna re-sign him.
now. I mean,
would
when
like
we
to
have
be-
that kid Ben Rice
Yeah.
waiting in the minors for us, he did well when he came up. Honestly, he did probably better than I would have ever expected him to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
next one,
I
though.
think Rizzo's going to walk, and we're going to have Rice as our starting first baseman next year.
This next one though.
Unless we sign somebody else from another team or trade, something like that.
There
William.
was a rumor that Bregman could get signed by the Yankees. Now that happens, and Bregman goes to third, like Jazz goes to second, let Torres walk,
Mhm.
find
Yep.
a first baseman, if not Ben Rice. We all hate him, of course, for what he did, but let's be honest, he would help us.
When healthy.
It's
When
it's
healthy.
like when Cole got signed. They said, New York's going to hate you until you start winning for them, and then it's like we can forget your past at that point. Like
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was different because Cole's a pitcher.
still
Yankee
he still
fan,
had that
and
Yep.
he still had that stigma around him when he first came on to the Yankees. So
Yeah.
How about
all
this
is
part?
forgiven by winning.
Okay, so we have Peralta, we have the other guy that they sound the same almost. Oswaldo and
Yeah, Oswaldo,
Cabrera
Oswaldo, the
and
two.
Cabrera.
Cabrera and Peralta.
Peralta. There you go, Peralta. What about
Peraza.
those
Peraza.
Peralta?
Oh, is
Okay.
it?
Yeah, there's a T. Peralta.
Peralta.
Two now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Whatever
the Yankees
happened
seem like
to- Whatever
I
happened
said
to
the Yankees feel
Go
like
ahead.
they just hate Peralta for some reason. Like it's like they don't care about him. I don't understand. I don't get it. Like he did pretty well. Like was it 2 seasons ago now when we called him up.
Yeah.
And just, we were like, hey, thanks for doing great for us. Now go back to the minors, and we kicked him
get
out.
the hell out of
It's
here.
like it's like we had Josh Donaldson still. It's like, why isn't he being replaced by this kid? Because JD was terrible.
Whatever happened to Peraza? Oswald Peraza.
That's the one.
Oh,
No, I think he got traded,
he got traded? Oh, wow.
or he left in free agency, something like that.
Okay, like
He was
next-
another one that
Yeah.
he was another one that we just kind of kept bouncing up and down between the minors and the big, just to like. It was weird. Like Cabrera was the only one that kind of stuck around. Everyone else kept getting tossed around like they were just worthless almost. It's just I feel like they've kind of just treated those guys so poorly, and they're babying Jason Dominguez as like the next young superstar, kind of like Volpe. Which I mean, from what he's kind of shown so far, might be deserved, yet to be seen. But it's just like we had a lot of good prospects, and it feels like we would rather have these old veterans on our team than these
Sounds
young
like
guys.
Steinbrenner era.
Exactly, and
It's been the
we are,
Yankee way forever, though. That's the whole thing.
but then we're keeping these young prospects, and we're kind of wasting their career. And I feel like they're trying to they want to keep them as maybe trade pieces in the future. They're like undecided. It's like they should have traded them away at the deadline this year
Mhm.
to get more than just Jazz Chisholm. Like that's the only move they made, and like the only big move they made, and it's like that's a total disappointment. Like we're glad we got Jazz. He did phenomenal for us until postseason, but that's the only big move you made. Like really, like
Yeah.
we have all these pieces to trade. You could have gotten more. We needed pitching. We really needed pitching.
Now,
Wow.
What do y'all know about Spencer Jones?
I haven't heard that name in forever.
I
Wow,
know,
I actually
right?
forgot about that kid.
Me too.
Uh,
For you guys, I don't know. I think he was a 6'7" center fielder who hit like
Yeah.
Judge, like power guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
training,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, like
I
6'7".
wonder. So I don't know how he did in the minors this year.
Me either.
I'll look it up. I'll look him up real quick. But
That was my
I wouldn't be
last question.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him one more season in the minors. 'Cause I don't even know what I don't even know what level he was playing at.
I think it was AAA. I think it was
see.
AAA.
Double A.
Oh, double A. Okay.
So he might be AAA next year. So we might see him at some point next year.
Oh, very nice.
Let's see what
So-
his average was.
259,
259.
17 home runs, 78 RBIs, and 25 stolen bases.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Last question.
788 OPS. Not bad. Could be
That's
better.
a name
Though.
to look out for. All right. Last question. What happens if Soto does not sign with the Yankees?
We're fucked.
That was going to be my response.
That's literally it. I mean, just literally, just the culture that he brought to the team alone
Yes.
is worth so much. It's worth its weight in gold. That team was so boring until
Yeah.
he and Verdugo came in.
That's right.
Those two, they changed the culture. Just those two alone, and then you added Jazz to that.
Yeah.
And,
with swagger.
Man, like the
It's a
the
swag
Yankees were
they
just
have.
swagger.
they were just fun to watch. Even when they were losing to a degree, they were fun to watch. Like they just had so much. I mean, Verdugo barking in the outfield in like the opening series of the season was like, where did this is not what the Yankees are normally doing. And he's like, we're just some dogs out there. I'm like, bro, I love this guy. I
big
love
ass chains, man. This guy's
Exactly,
always
dude.
wearing chains.
I love it,
Yankee
man.
way,
Like
though.
they were just having fun though, and we started the season so hot. We started so well, and a lot of it I think is just because like they were playing loose, you know. And if I get maybe Judge has felt like the weight of the world on his shoulders, and so having the serious tone at all times in that clubhouse has been kind of a bad thing. So bringing those guys in as a breath of fresh air for the culture, it helped a lot until later issues in the season kind of sprung
All right.
up.
I'm going to say one name. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to see what you guys think.
Oh god.
Stanton next year.
Yes. Yeah.
He's done his job as
Yeah, he's
DH
done
as long as he stays healthy.
He's
That's the big thing.
he's earned his spot. All right. Final last question. Because
All right, yeah.
like, second parter. What do you guys think the contract is going to be though? Because it's going to be a 10-year, maybe even a 12-year. He's still like 26. He just turned 26. It could be like a 10-year 450 he could do. He can do 11 for 500. That's like 46 a year. Judge
I
is
think
on
that's
40.
I think that's too low, bro.
Really?
I think that's
Really?
too low. I'm thinking around 600. And
55
years
though, like
years would probably be about 12. I would say 12, 650.
12 for 650.
Wow.
At the top end. I mean, because you got the Dodgers that are going to come in and offer him that money. You got the Mets
Dodgers are
offering
coming
him
in
that
for him.
money.
Yeah.
You got the Padres that can offer him that money.
And Philly.
It's like,
those 14.
bro,
That's
bro,
Phillies,
we got to go
Padres.
back to the old school Yankee way and just throw money at the wall and just
So-
let it do. Let it,
Well, I mean,
let it work, bro.
well, yes and no. I mean, during the dynasty, we weren't really throwing money. A lot of those players were homegrown. We did
We have plenty
you
of
know,
that.
We did do patchwork, like
Yeah.
bringing in
One of those-
some quality players, but
Clemens.
we had that core, and we weren't throwing money around. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
You got a guy who loves wearing the pinstripes, loves playing in New York, and
Yeah.
is one of the best players in baseball, period.
yes,
Like, this is what I'm saying. If they don't manage to sign Soto in the offseason, Cashman needs to be fired. He has one job. We can keep Boone. That's fine. You can, because I mean, personally, I think Cleveland series. I think the Cleveland series was actually managed perfectly by Boone. That was like one of the few times he's managed a series perfectly. That Cleveland series was perfect on Boone's behalf. But yeah, Cashman, in my opinion, he only has one job this offseason. That's sign Soto. And if he doesn't do that, he needs to leave. And we need to get somebody else in there who will do it. You know, like we cannot pass. This is like the fact that we have one generational talent already locked in and we have a chance to get a second one. I mean, how many teams can say that? Just the Dodgers. That's it. Just the Dodgers.
Yeah, because Soto turned down 440, but that was for 15 years, right?
And that was also how many years ago now?
That was 2022. So that
and
was
he just had a career year. We just had the best version of Soto we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think that if he gets 50 to 55 a year, it would probably be too little.
Yeah.
Because I think the Dodgers are going to try to do something very similar they did to Ohtani. We'll pay you $1 million a year. We'll give you all the money after you retire. I'm telling you, the Yankees are smart. They go and they visit Soto like in the locker room and say, here's the check. Put a number to it.
Yeah. And now the only thing that I'm concerned with is that they don't want him to make more than the captain.
Well,
and
that's the problem.
If they think that will be an ego issue or a problem that would cause tension in the clubhouse, then that would kill the whole thing.
Yeah,
and
but
go ahead.
But here's the thing: Judge makes so much money on endorsements that that $40 million that he's making for the Yankees probably is just like chump change.
Yeah, but Soto's will start making the same thing.
Yeah, but
exactly. If he's not already, you know.
Judge is number 2 in endorsements. Soto was number 4 in endorsements and in jersey sales, right?
Yeah, so that will jump up once he gets locked in. Don't forget, Judge is also like what 30, 31. Like he's old.
Yeah,
Judge 30. Is not. He's older than me, I believe.
I think he's 32.
33, I thought.
Let's see right now. 32. He's 32 years old. Yeah. So that's the other thing to consider.
26.
If we are able to lock in Soto, he becomes who you build the team around. You keep Judge, obviously. You cannot get rid of Judge. Even if the contract was
he's a Yankee, lifelong Yankee.
And we need Soto to be the same because Soto will be there after Judge, and then Soto will be the one to kind of turn it over to the next generation with Volpe and with Dominguez and all these young cats coming up.
I swear,
we need to sign Soto. That's like there is no other option.
I swear, if Judge becomes a new Don Mattingly, that he's here his whole freaking career, retires, and then a year later, like Juan Soto, leads a freaking dynasty, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Oh, Donnie Baseball. I felt so bad.
Donnie Baseball, man.
Mm.
That's my favorite Yankee. That's my favorite Yankee. Donnie Baseball.
Yeah.
Love the man.
Him and Ron.
Anyway, so guys, this we can continue talking forever, but this podcast is getting long, and unfortunately, again, just kind of to close up, unfortunately, the Yankees couldn't get the World Series. Congratulations to the Dodgers. Guys, tomorrow, William and I are going to do our Will Squared podcast where we're going to be talking about all the other sports. We do want to thank Gabe and Ed for jumping on. And it's not going to be the last time that they're going to be on with us. We're going to have some special treats with Gabe as he talks about his second favorite sport, hockey, where Ovi is on his way to tying Wayne Gretzky, which is very
Caps.
The Caps. And then we're going to have Ed on too because one thing you guys don't know, which I'll tell you now. Well, I guess you did. Both Gabe and Ed are lifelong Cowboy fans. So there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to contribute during our football section. So keep an eye out for that, guys, and subscribe, and also put a comment down. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time.
One last thing.
Okay.
They may be the biggest hockey fans ever, but guess what? I got some they'll never get, okay? And that's this. Okay.
Actually, I sent it to them.
Or not.
So we have one.
We ruined my damn vibe.
I mailed
bro.
it to them.
It's okay. I have
Yeah.
a signed.
I was
I
there
have
though.
a signed
I was
Ovi
there.
poster, and my dad has a signed Ovi stick. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, I have nothing.
All right,
That's
guys.
how.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
All right, guys.
Subscribe to the channel. And again, thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Ed. See
Yeah,
you
of
guys.
course.
See you guys. Take care.
Good night, guys.